The Last FIREHAWK, The Golden Temple. By Katrina Charman. Introduction. Tag, a small barn owl, and his friend Skyla, a squirrel, and Blaze, a firehawk, are in the magical land of the Cloud Kingdom. When they were in the land of Perugia, Tag, Skyla, and Blaze defeated the evil vulture, Thorn. They stopped Thorn from destroying Perugia and stealing the magical Ember Stone. Now they are searching for clues to find Blaze's family, the Lost Firehawks. There are many strange sights to see in the Cloud Kingdom and new creatures to meet. The most mysterious creature of all is the vulture Claw. He says he is Thorn's twin brother and that he is good, unlike his evil brother. Tag isn't sure he can trust Claw, but Tag, Skyla, and Blaze must learn to trust him. Claw has promised to lead them to the Golden Temple, the place where the Firehawks were last seen and where Blaze might finally find her family. The adventure continues. The Cloud Kingdom. Chapter 1, The Long Journey. Tag, Skyla, and Blaze sat on a rock in a patch of grass. They ate the last of their fruit and nuts. Claw stood in front of them, walking back and forth. "We need to get moving," Claw said. "We have a long way to go before we reach the Golden Temple." "How far away is it?" Blaze asked. "A few hours, at least," Claw replied. "The temple is hidden within a thick jungle. It is very hard to find." Tag turned his back to peek inside his sack. The Ember Stone and the golden feathers were still safe inside. He turned back to Claw. "Are you sure you know the way?" Tag asked. "Yes," Claw said. "But it has been a long time since I last saw the Firehawks. If they do not want to be found, it may be impossible to find them. Unless Unless what?" Skyla asked, tucking her slingshot into her armor. "Unless you have any clues?" Claw said slowly, looking at Tag's sack. Tag shook his head quickly. "Our only clue is what you've told us about the Golden Temple. That's why we need your help, Claw." Claw nodded. "Well, if you've finished eating, we should continue on," he said. He walked off into the trees. "Shouldn't we fly?" Blaze called out, hurrying to catch up. "It is better if we go on foot," Claw replied. "The jungle is very overgrown. We won't be able to spot the Golden Temple from the sky." They walked on through the Cloud Kingdom. In the distance, Tag saw the rainbow waterfall where Blaze had been taken by the giant birds. The friends soon reached a wide stream. It sparkled different shades of blue. "Oh no!" Tag said, remembering they had been here before. "Watch out for the snappy fish." Then a large fish leaped from the water. It snapped its sharp teeth at Blaze. "Ag!" Blaze yelled, stepping back. "This is Snapper's stream," Claw told them. "Be careful. Those fish bite." "I remember," said Skyla, gripping her tail tightly. She jumped onto Blaze's back. The friends flew over the hungry fish in Snapper's stream and landed on the other side. "Phew," Tag said. "I'm glad we flew across this time." Suddenly, a loud hum filled the air. In the sky, heading right for them, was a cloud of angry-looking bugs. Chapter 2, Storm Bugs. "Storm bugs!" Claw cried. "We must leave, now." Skyla jumped onto Blaze's back, and the friends flew away from the bugs. Tag glanced behind him. The bugs were as big as he was, with large, round bubble bottoms that sparked with flashes of lightning. "They are following us!" Blaze cried. "Fly faster," Claw shouted. "We don't want them to catch up to us." "What will happen if they do?" Skyla asked. A flash of lightning hit a tree behind them. The tree exploded into flames. "That's what?" Claw said. Tag gulped. He flew faster as lightning flashed and raindrops began falling on his feathers. A deafening crack of thunder echoed around them. Why are these bugs chasing us? He wondered. The storm bugs seemed very angry at them. The friends flew over the thick jungle. All Tag could see below were the green treetops, which spread in all directions. As he flew, his wings felt more and more tired. The storm bugs aren't slowing down. Tag called. We need to hide. He pointed to the trees below. Blaze led the way, swooping lower until she disappeared into the trees. Claw and Tag followed. Hurry, Claw said, racing into the jungle. The storm bugs buzzed above the treetops. They sounded close. Tag tried to keep up with the others, but Skyla was leaping from branch to branch. Blaze and Claw were moving just as fast. Wait up! Tag puffed. But his friends were too far away to hear. Bzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzz. Tag tripped over a twisty vine. His foot was caught. He pulled and pulled, but it wouldn't come free. The buzzing came closer. Flashes of lightning moved through the trees until the storm bugs were hovering right above him. They formed an enormous dark cloud. Tag grabbed his dagger and cut at the vine, trying to get free. But he was stuck. Then suddenly SKRAA. Blaze soared through the trees, letting out her powerful FIREHAWK cry. The storm bugs flew around in circles, bumping into one another. Skyla and Claw ran to Tag. The storm bugs stopped and glared at Claw. One of the bugs began flying around so quickly that it was a yellow blur. I think that bug is writing a message in the air, Tag said. Skyla narrowed her eyes. What does it say? She asked. The storm bug finished writing. Blaze slowly read the word. Beware! Chapter 3, Beware! The storm bugs turned and buzzed away. Tag watched them leave, his eyes wide. Are you okay? Skyla asked Tag. Tag finally pulled his foot free from the vine and nodded. I don't think the bugs were trying to hurt us, he said. I think they wanted to warn us. About what? Blaze asked. Tag looked at Claw. He was sure that the storm bugs had looked right at the old vulture when they'd spelled out the message, beware. What were they trying to tell us? He wondered. Maybe they were warning us about the jungle? Claw suggested. We're lucky we have a FIREHAWK to protect us. Blaze smiled. The friends made their way through the jungle. The trees were tall and thick with long, curvy leaves that touched the ground. Twisty green vines wound around the trunks and along the ground. As they walked, the air grew hot. Tag could hear the sound of hundreds of insects chirping and humming to one another. He held his dagger tight as he looked around for any other dangerous creatures. How far is the temple from here? Blaze asked Claw. Claw looked unsure. It has been a long time since I was there. The jungle has grown even thicker. Maybe the map can help us? Skyla whispered to Tag. Tag moved away from Claw and unrolled the map. It showed a picture of green trees. In the center was a small picture of Tag, Blaze, Skyla, and Claw. There was no sign of the Golden Temple. I think we're lost, Tag said. Blaze frowned. Well, let's keep following this path. Tag cut at the thick vines hanging in their way. The farther they walked, the smaller the path became. Soon, there was no path at all. They were surrounded by trees and bushes on all sides. Are you sure you know where you are going, Claw? Tag grumbled. Claw ignored him. Use your firepower to make a path, Blaze, he said. No! Blaze cried. My firepower could burn down the jungle. We'll have to clear the path without using my powers. Together, the friends pulled at the vines and bushes. Tag used his dagger to cut a way through. Skyla, Tag whispered. I think Claw is lost. Skyla frowned. Try checking the map again, she whispered. Tag reached into his sack when Blaze suddenly shouted. The temple! Blaze cried, jumping up and down. We've found the golden temple! Chapter 4, The Discovery. The friends raced forward. The temple stood in the middle of a large clearing surrounded by palm trees. The temple's stone walls were old and crumbling, and most of the roof had fallen down. The walls were covered in moss and vines. It doesn't look like the FIREHAWKs have been here for a long time, Skyla said. Tag nodded. Are you sure this is where you last watched the FIREHAWKs? He asked Claw. It was long ago, Claw said. But yes, I am sure. Blaze hopped closer. This temple is in ruins, she said sadly. Even if my family was here at some point, they've been gone for a long time. Tag patted Blaze on the shoulder, then turned to Claw. What now? He asked. The FIREHAWKs might have left some clues behind, Claw suggested. Let's split up and take a look around, said Skyla. Blaze and Skyla went inside while Claw searched outside. Tag walked around the other side of the temple, away from Claw. His tummy twisted as he remembered the storm bug's warning. He looked for anything that might tell them where the FIREHAWKs were. But then, he heard a scream. Help! It was Skyla! Tag raced into the temple with Claw following closely behind. He searched for Skyla, but the temple was full of fallen stones. The floor and walls were covered in more vines. Tag cut through them as he made his way through an open doorway. Over here! Skyla shouted. I'm stuck! Tag flew over to Skyla. She was wrapped in something silvery. She wriggled and squirmed, trying to break free. What is it? Tag asked. That's a web, Claw said. A giant web. Tag's feathers trembled. Claw was right. Skyla was caught in a huge spider's web. The silvery threads were almost as thick as the vines. Help me get out, Skyla cried, before the spider comes back. Tag tried to use his dagger to cut away at the thick, silvery threads. The web is too strong. My dagger can't cut through it, Tag puffed. Let me try, Claw said. He used his sharp talons and beak to try to break the web. But that didn't work either. Next, Blaze lit up her feathers and tried to burn through the thread. But no matter what they did, the web would not break. Tag, Skyla said, her voice trembling. Something's coming. Tag froze as a huge hairy leg slowly lowered down into the temple right in front of them. They all looked up. Hanging above them from the cracked ceiling, with its sharp jaws open wide, was the biggest spider Tag had ever seen. Chapter 5, The Web. The spider dangled above them. It was twice as tall as Blaze and had a huge, round body. Tag held out his dagger with a shaky wing. Claw grabbed a rock in his talon, and Blaze's feathers lit up. Please don't hurt us, Skyla cried. The spider watched the friends for a moment with her beady eyes. Then she giggled. I won't hurt you, she said. I heard your cries and came to help. Tag frowned. You don't want to eat us? He asked. The spider laughed. Why would I want to eat you? You are covered in fur and feathers. Tag sagged with relief. Then could you please let our friend down? Blaze asked. The spider crawled onto her web. Skyla squeezed her eyes shut as the spider snipped the threads with her sharp teeth. Finally, Skyla was free. Thank you, Skyla said, brushing pieces of web from her fur. You're welcome. The spider smiled. I'm Winnie. I'm Skyla. These are my friends Tag, Blaze, and Claw, Skyla replied. Have you lived in the jungle long? Blaze asked. Winnie dropped to the ground. All my life, she said. Have you ever seen any firehawks here? Blaze asked hopefully. They look like me, Winnie thought for a moment. Sorry, she said. We don't get many visitors. We? Claw asked. My mother and me, the spider said. And my brothers and sisters. She pointed to all the trees above, which were covered in webs. The vines hung over into the temple through the broken roof. Tag gulped, hoping that the other spiders wouldn't show up too soon. There is something you might want to see, Winnie said. They followed Winnie and found themselves in a large, open hall. Look at the floor, Winnie said. There were 4 flat stones in the middle of the room. Each one had strange markings scratched into it. Skyla brushed away dust and dirt with her tail. Look, she gasped. Blaze hopped closer. Those are feathers, she said. Each stone held a picture of a long golden feather. Is that what you were looking for? Winnie asked. Maybe, Blaze said. We could be looking for a portal. It is a magical door to another place. How do you open a portal? Winnie asked. We'd need a magical object, Claw said. Tag glanced at Blaze and nodded. We have golden feathers, Blaze said. Show him, Tag. Tag took out the 3 golden feathers. Claw's eyes grew wide. Those are definitely magical. Do you know what this means? Claw said. We can open the portal and find the firehawks. Peep! Blaze cried, hopping up and down. Put the feathers on the stones, Claw said. Tag placed a golden feather on 3 of the 4 flat stones. The friends stepped back. Tag waited for a portal to appear. Chapter 6, 4 Feathers. The temple was still and silent. It didn't work, Tag said. His head drooped. There are 4 stones with pictures on them, Claw said. We must need a 4th feather to open the portal. But we only have 3, Blaze said. Maybe there is one hidden here? Skyla suggested. Like the one we found in the Howling Caves. I know every nook and cranny of this temple, Winnie said sadly. If there was a golden feather here, I would have seen it. Tag sighed. What now? He asked. I'm sorry, Winnie said. I wish I could help you. But I have to go. My mom is calling me. Skyla sank to the floor. We can't give up. Blaze cried. We don't have enough feathers to open the portal, Tag said. We're going to be stuck in the Cloud Kingdom forever. Blaze's eyes filled with tears. I will never find my family. Skyla gave her friend a hug. Claw looked to Tag. If only we had another magical object, Claw said, raising an eyebrow. We could try to place that on the 4th stone instead of a golden feather. Blaze glanced at Tag. Tag's tummy twisted. Can we trust Claw enough to tell him about the Ember Stone? He wondered. Gray did say that any magical object could open a portal, Skyla said. Tag sighed and opened up his sack. There's no other way, he thought. We have this, he said, holding out the Ember Stone. It felt cold and heavy in his wing. Claw gasped. He reached out a wing to touch it, but the Ember Stone flared. Red hot. Tag dropped it to the ground. Ouch! Claw cried. The Ember Stone had been too hot for Thorn to touch, too, Tag remembered. Heat can't hurt me, Blaze said. She picked up the stone with her beak and placed it on the fourth flat stone. Suddenly, the ground beneath them began to shake. Tag held onto Skyla's paw and Blaze's wing. All around them, the stone walls began to crumble. The 3 golden feathers lit up, and the ember stone glowed purple. A bright swirling light appeared in the temple floor. The portal! Claw shouted. He jumped and disappeared into the light. I hope this portal takes us to the FIREHAWKs, Tag shouted. He looked at his friends. Ready? Skyla and Blaze nodded. Then they took a deep breath and jumped. Chapter 7, The Lost FIREHAWKs. The world around Tag swirled with color. Tag felt dizzy. He saw the temple spinning around them. The ember stone and the golden feathers whizzed by in a rush of colors. He reached out and grabbed the ember stone. Finally, he landed with a thud. Tag! Skyla called, running over to her friend. This place is amazing. Blaze called out, jumping up and down. Tag looked around. The crumbling temple was gone. In its place was a new temple, but this one wasn't in ruins. It seemed to rise all the way to the sky, with tall towers and shiny pillars. It glittered and shone as brightly as the sun in the blue sky above. Tag laughed. Wow! I don't think we're in the Cloud Kingdom anymore. Skyla ran toward the temple. Let's go inside, she suggested. Maybe the FIREHAWKs are here. They raced after her, up the steep stone steps. The temple had 2 tall, golden doors and a statue of a large, golden egg on each side. Those are golden eggs, Blaze said. Just like the golden egg I hatched from. This temple must belong to the FIREHAWKs. Tag knocked on the door, but there was no answer. He pushed it open. Is anyone here? He called through the doorway. Again, there was no answer. Let's go in, Skyla said. They stepped inside, and Tag stared around in wonder. It was the most beautiful place he had ever seen. There were tall pillars covered in glitter that swirled around in spirals. Curving stairs were carved into the walls and went up, up, up as far as Tag could see. A golden fountain stood in the middle of the long hallway. Sparkling water sprinkled out of it like raindrops. But the water didn't trickle down, it trickled up. Is this a dream? Blaze said, rubbing her eyes. It must be, Skyla said. This is all too amazing to be real. But Tag didn't see FIREHAWKs or any other creatures either. He paused. Where is Claw? He asked. That's strange. He came through the portal right before us, Skyla said. Maybe he landed somewhere else? They entered a smaller room. It was filled with colorful lights that whizzed around making beautiful shapes and patterns. The friends stared up at the lights in wonder. We should look for Claw, Blaze said after a while. They continued on, down hallways and beneath golden arches. Finally, they reached an open courtyard. In its center was an egg-shaped pool filled with sparkling blue water. There were tropical flowers and swaying palm trees all around. A group of birds stood on the other side of the courtyard. They had red and yellow and orange feathers. The birds turned to look at Blaze. Tag gasped. The lost FIREHAWKs, he cried. We found them. Chapter 8, Family. The FIREHAWKs walked to Blaze, whispering to one another. Tag couldn't believe his eyes. There were so many of them. Some tall, some small, some old, and some young. Tag looked at Skyla, and they grinned at each other. Blaze had the biggest smile they had ever seen. Seeing her this way made his heart happy. Blaze stepped forward. My name is Blaze, she told the FIREHAWKs. I was born in Valor Wood, in Perodya. I am looking for my family. Toot toot! A loud horn echoed around them, and the FIREHAWKs moved aside. A tall FIREHAWK with long, elegant feathers appeared and walked through the crowd. She wore a sparkly, jeweled headdress. Tag whispered to Skyla, "Do you think she's their leader?" "She must be," Skyla whispered back. The tall FIREHAWK stopped in front of Blaze. Her eyes narrowed as she looked Blaze up and down. "Is it really you?" the FIREHAWK asked. Blaze gave a small peep, and the FIREHAWK smiled. She hugged Blaze tightly. "I am Talia, leader of the FIREHAWKs, and your mother. I've missed you so much." Blaze and Talia wrapped their wings around each other. Talia wiped away tears. Skyla sniffed, trying not to cry, too. "I knew that you would find your way back to me," Talia said. "Did you find the clues I left behind?" Blaze nodded. "We found the paintings on Fire Island and your 3 golden feathers. My friends Tag and Skyla helped me, too." Talia smiled at Tag and Skyla. "I am so glad to meet you both," she said. "Welcome to the land of the FIREHAWKs. Thank you for helping Blaze on this journey. Why did you all leave Perodya?" Skyla asked. "When Thorn became a danger to Valor Wood, Gray, the leader of the Owls of Valor, asked us for help. He told us to hide out on Fire Island, but Thorn and his shadow became too strong, and he was close to finding us. You see, Thorn wanted our powers for himself. So we had to leave the land of Perodya and come home. This is a hidden world that only FIREHAWKs can find. Without Blaze, you would have been unable to enter the portal." "You left me behind," Blaze said to her mother. Blaze's feathers drooped. Talia hugged her daughter. "I had a vision long before you hatched. It showed me that you would save Perodya," she told Blaze. "I had to leave you behind so that you would win the fight against Thorn." She looked at Tag and Skyla. "I left her egg in the howling caves of Valor Wood, hoping that Gray could keep her safe." Tag glanced at Skyla. "It was lucky we found Blaze's egg," he thought. Even Gray hadn't known the egg was there. Talia faced them. "It is because of you two that Blaze was able to defeat Thorn and the Shadow," she said. "You know about that?" Tag asked, amazed. Talia smiled. "FIREHAWK leaders have visions of what has been and what will come. I always knew that Blaze would find her way back to me." Suddenly, Claw stepped forward from behind a pillar. "You!" Talia cried. She pointed a fiery wing at Claw. "FIREHAWKs, attack!" The FIREHAWKs surrounded Claw. Their feathers burst into flames as they closed in around him. Then Talia threw 2 fireballs at Claw. Chapter 9, The Enemy. Blaze stepped in front of Claw and held out her wings. "Wait," she cried. "Blaze, be careful," Talia said. She turned to Claw. "How did you get here, Thorn?" "He's not Thorn," Tag said quickly. He didn't want to see Claw turned into toast. "He's Thorn's twin brother, Claw." Talia narrowed her eyes at the vulture. "I didn't know Thorn had a brother," she said. "Claw is our friend," Skyla said. "He saved my life in the Cloud Kingdom." Claw nodded quickly. "I'm not here to hurt anyone," he said. "I just want to go home. I need your help getting back to Perodya." Talia waved a wing at the other FIREHAWKs, and their flames went out. "Is this true, Blaze?" she asked. "Yes," Blaze said. "Claw helped us find the Golden Temple. We would never have found you without his help." Talia watched Claw carefully. "Thorn would never have helped my daughter," she said. "I am not like my brother," Claw said. Talia nodded. If Blaze trusts you, then so do I, she said. She looked at Tag, Skyla, and Blaze and smiled. Let me show you all around. I actually need to rest. Claw said. This has all been very tiring. A firehawk showed Claw where he could sleep, while Tag and the others followed Talia outside. The temple was on a small island surrounded by a golden sandy beach and clear blue water. Along the beach were small wooden huts where the firehawks lived. Talia introduced them to some of the other firehawks. This is Maya, Talia said. She is our healer. She helps anyone who is ill or hurt. Welcome home, the older firehawk said to Blaze. Tag could see her hut had rows of small bottles filled with colorful liquids. They moved on to the next hut. And this is Melody, Talia said. She has the most wonderful singing voice you've ever heard. Melody sang, and Tag couldn't help but hum along. The song was beautiful. Blaze swayed back and forth with the music. When the song was over, they said goodbye to Melody and walked on. What's that up ahead? Blaze asked, pointing to a big pile of branches and sticks. Talia smiled. It's a nest, she said. She moved a few palm leaves aside. 6 golden eggs rested inside. These eggs are almost ready to hatch, Talia told them. There is a special ceremony that takes place when the nest catches fire. The baby firehawks rise from the ashes. Tag remembered how the old oak tree had caught fire when Blaze hatched. He had found her in the ashes. I'm sorry I wasn't there to see you hatch, Talia told Blaze. Maybe I could take part in the ceremony when these eggs hatch? Blaze suggested. That is a wonderful idea, Blaze. Your friends can help, too, Talia said. Even Claw? Blaze asked. Talia smiled. Yes, even Claw. Tag's tummy churned. I should feel excited for Blaze, he thought, so why do I feel so worried? Chapter 10, Talia's Gift. For several days, Tag, Blaze, Skyla, and Claw spent time with the firehawks and explored the island. One day, Tag and Skyla were playing on the beach. Talia was teaching Blaze more about her powers. Look, Tag! Blaze called out. Tag watched as his friend opened her beak wide. But instead of her loud cry, she gave a softer skraa. A coconut shell that was nearby began to float in the air. That is so cool, Skyla said. That's not all I've learned. Blaze smiled. Check this out. Her feathers lit up one by one with small flames. She pointed at the sky, then waved her wings in the air. Hundreds of tiny colorful fireballs shot out. They exploded, and little sparkles rained down like fireworks. Pretty, Skyla said, clapping. It's also a good way to call for help, Talia told them. Blaze grinned at Talia. Show them the gifts, Blaze said. Talia pulled something from her feathers and handed it to Skyla. This is for you, she said. To thank you for bringing Blaze home. Skyla looked at the gift. It was a golden slingshot. Wow, Skyla said. Thank you. Try it out, Tag said. Skyla grinned and picked up a small pebble on the beach. She put it into her slingshot and shot it out to sea. The pebble flew far until it was out of sight. Whoa, Skyla said. I'm going to need more pebbles. Is the slingshot magic? Tag asked. This land is magical. Everything made here has some kind of special power, Talia said. Show Tag his gift, Blaze said. Talia smiled. I have something special for you, too, Tag, Talia said. She handed Tag a small glass bottle. It was filled with a swirly, bright green liquid. Tag opened the bottle and let a drop drip into his beak. Suddenly, his wings started flapping. They moved faster and faster until they were a blur. "Fly," Talia told him. He flew faster than he had ever flown before. He zoomed through the trees, in and out, and over the wooden huts along the beach. "This liquid gives me special flying powers." "It is amazing!" Tag whooped. He flew until his wings started to slow down. "What does it do?" Tag asked. "Drink one drop," Talia said. Then he landed beside his friends. "The magic doesn't last long," Talia said. "But it can help if you are ever in danger or need to get somewhere fast." "Thank you," Tag said, putting the bottle into his sack. "There is one more surprise," Talia said. They followed her down the beach where the firehawks had gathered. A big feast was laid out on a table. Music was playing, and the firehawks were dancing. A big banner hanging over the table read, "Welcome home, Blaze." Blaze and Skyla hurried down to the party. Claw was standing a little way away, watching the firehawks. Tag looked to Claw. The vulture seemed a bit lost, and Tag felt sorry for him. "Come on," Tag said. "Let's join in." Claw paused for a moment, then he smiled and followed Tag down to the beach. The friends and the firehawks laughed and danced all night under the bright moon. Later, as Tag settled down to sleep, he thought about the fact that Blaze was home now. "I'm happy she's home," Tag thought, "but what happens when we return to Perodya? Will we have to leave Blaze behind?" Chapter 11, Hatching Day. The land of the firehawks was very busy the morning of the ceremony. Skyla weaved garlands from vines and flowers to hang as decorations. Tag gathered fruit and nuts. Even Claw was helping out by keeping a close eye on the golden eggs. Everyone was very excited about the ceremony, especially Blaze. "I can't wait to see the firehawks hatch," she said. Blaze flew from one side of the temple's great hall to the other to hang up Skyla's decorations. Blaze landed next to her friends. "It was amazing when you hatched," Tag told her. "At least we know what to expect this time," Skyla said. "When your egg caught fire, we thought something terrible had happened." Tag placed the food he had gathered into large golden bowls. He laid them out on the long table. "The hall looks wonderful," Talia said, looking around. "It is time to begin." Toot toot! A loud trumpet sounded. Soon the hall was filled with hundreds of firehawks waiting for the ceremony to start. "The hatching ceremony helps new firehawks gain control over their powers right away," Talia said. "All firehawks are born into fire. It gives us strength and power. It shows us the way to the light, the way to know what is good." Blaze nodded. There was another loud trumpeting sound. Toot toot! 2 firehawks started banging on drums. They led the way through the crowd, with Talia following behind. Tag, Blaze, Skyla, and Claw walked beside the leader of the firehawks. The rest of the firehawks followed in a line. Once everyone was outside the temple, they gathered around the nest. The 6 golden eggs looked shinier than ever. Tag thought they might even be glowing. "Blaze," Talia called. "Step into the nest." Tag patted Blaze's shoulder. "Good luck," he said. Blaze smiled and climbed into the nest. The drums stopped, and everyone was silent. Then, one by one, the eggs lit up. They burst into golden flames, which reached higher and higher until Tag couldn't see Blaze anymore. The fire died down, and the eggs cracked open. "It's beautiful," Claw said, watching the firehawks hatch. A baby firehawk popped out of each egg. Blaze's feathers lit up. Suddenly, boom! There was a huge explosion. Tag pulled Skyla down to the ground, covering her with his wing. He glanced up to see what had happened. There, in the middle of the nest, was a giant ball of silver fire, glowing like the ember stone. But it wasn't the ember stone. It was Blaze. Chapter 12, Blaze's Powers. Tag stepped toward Blaze. His eyes were wide as he watched the silver flame swirl around her. She will be fine, Talia told him. Skyla held onto Tag's wing. Is the fire supposed to be silver? She asked. The hatching ceremony gives a firehawk their special powers. Blaze didn't have a hatching ceremony, so she had to wait for her powers to grow, Talia explained. I think that is why the flames are silver. Now, she will be even more powerful. The firehawks began chanting a low song. It got louder and louder, and Melody sang loudest of all. Then the firehawks held up their wings to the sky, and out shot hundreds of small fireballs. Wow! Tag cried. It was beautiful. The fireballs floated away on the wind. Slowly, the fire died down until the nest was nothing but ashes. The baby firehawks peeped loudly, and Blaze smiled down at them. The baby firehawks took to the sky, then flew into their mother's wings. Did Blaze always have that feather? Claw asked. The friends looked at Blaze. Among her orange and red tail feathers was a new, longer one. This feather was silver, and it glittered in the sunlight. The firehawks gathered around Blaze, quietly peeping to one another. They seemed as surprised as Blaze was about her new feather. Talia held her wings up to calm the crowd. I had a vision of this feather, she said. It signifies that Blaze will grow up to be the most powerful leader the firehawks have ever seen. The firehawks gasped. Tag's tummy felt funny. If Blaze is meant to be their leader, he thought, then she might never return to Peridea. Blaze looked at her new tail feather. I thought leaders had golden tail feathers, she said. That is true. Each firehawk leader has 3 golden tail feathers, and your 3 tail feathers will grow when you are older. But this new silver feather is very special, Talia said. More special than the golden feathers. But it won't become magical until you are fully grown. Then you will be ready to take over as leader of the firehawks. Tag frowned. How long would it take for Blaze to be fully grown? He wondered. Tag, Skyla whispered. What will happen when Blaze becomes leader of the firehawks? Tag felt his heart sink. We will have to leave her behind, he replied. Chapter 13, Going Home. Tag watched Blaze and the other firehawks celebrating on the beach. Blaze looked so happy. He didn't want to think about leaving her behind. The 6 baby firehawks flew in the air, then tumbled into the water as they learned how to fly. Peridea is safe since we defeated Thorn. So maybe the firehawks could come home with us? Skyla said. Tag looked around at the beautiful island. They have everything they need here, he said. This is their home. And it is Blaze's home now, too. I think now it is time we went home to Peridea, Claw said, sitting down beside them. Tag nodded. Claw was right. They had finished their journey. They had found the firehawks. He just didn't want to say goodbye to Blaze. Talia, Tag said. Are you able to open a portal back to Peridea? Yes, Talia said. As long as you still have the golden feathers and the ember stone. Tag froze. He looked at his friends and saw the same realization on Blaze's and Skyla's faces. Where are our magical objects? Skyla cried. We placed them on the stones in the Cloud Kingdom, Blaze replied. I remember seeing them swirl around us as we fell through the portal. I grabbed the ember stone as we fell, Tag said. He pulled it out of his sack. But I wasn't able to catch the feathers, too. Blaze looked to her mom. Can we open the portal with just the stone? Talia shook her head. You need the golden feathers, too, she said. Or another magical object. There must be a way, Claw said. Do you have any more golden feathers? Tag asked Talia. Talia shook her head. Each FIREHAWK leader only has 3 golden feathers. You found all 3 of mine, and they helped to bring you home. But I'm afraid I don't have any more. What about Blaze's new silver feather? Skyla asked. Could that open a portal? Talia thought for a moment. Maybe, she said. But not until it gains its magic, and that won't happen until Blaze is fully grown. Claw frowned. There has to be another way back to Perodia. Tag sat on the sand. I was hoping to become an Owl of Valor when we went home, he said. To protect Valor Wood and Perodia. I know, Skyla said. Her tail drooped. I miss home, too. I will help you, Blaze said. You helped me find my family and my home. I will help you find a way back to Perodia. Blaze's mother shook her head. There is no other way, Blaze, she said. Blaze stood tall. We have to find a way, she said. Tag and Skyla and Claw are my friends. We will find a way back to Perodia. Together.